Ladies and gentlemen, how did you like that fucking beatdown last night? I'm sorry if I'm bringing the energy already, man, but I have so many receipts that I've had to pull all off season. Oh, Dan, the Buffalo Bills don't have any weapons. You have no corners. I can't believe the schmucks that tried to tell me that. And look at that. For the first time in a long time, the Buffalo Bills start 3-0. Last time the Buffalo Bills started 3-0, we won 13-3. Of course, that was prior to the 17-game season, and we made it all the way to the AFC Championship. I'm just saying, all right, I'm not trying to jinx, although that I sincerely believe jinxes are only for children at this point, but I love everything that I am seeing from this team, folks, and I want to break this down and have a celebratory stream this morning. I have my good friend Thomas backstage. I'm pretty sure Z-Bot might be coming in. I think Kevin may be coming in. And let me tell you what, man, there's so much to break down. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Shout out to everybody that tuned into my live game reaction last night. It was yet again another anxiety-free watch. It was domination upon domination on both sides of the ball, man. Pass rush is back. Everybody eats mentality was not bullshit, ladies and gentlemen. It was for real. Now, I do want to tell each and every single one of you that this stream is powered by BetUS. In case you folks are unfamiliar with BetUS, I got to tell you what it is, folks. It's the best sports book in the face of the planet, and they have, in my opinion, the best promo that you could find on the damn internet. And look at this, folks. Let's go on ahead and just go into NFL divisions, because you know for a damn fact that the Buffalo Bills are now minus 180 favorites to win the AFC East. I really hope you guys took advantage of this prior to this absolute layup of a bet. But this Buffalo Bills team is absolutely moving. And I know that all of us cannot be but more thrilled than what we have witnessed. And you know what? Without further ado, like I said, I'm going to have to bring on my good friend Thomas from Charge Buffalo. What's going on, my friend? How you doing?
What's going on, folks? Man, I'm like you, Dan. I'm jazzed to be here.
It's crazy.
It is crazy. You know, last night I tweeted out, and for anybody who doesn't know, I've got a couple kids. I got a newborn as of a week ago, and which, thank you. I did nothing, but my wife did a great job.
Absolutely.
I've also got almost a 2-year-old son, and last night I got to watch the first Bills game with him, which was very special. Even more special that it was an absolute curb stomping, ass kicking, belt to ass type of occasion, which only for me, you know, something I was thinking about this morning, Dan, and I'm sure you being a Bills fan as well can remember, and remiss to this. You know, I don't know if you've ever seen the movie where they've got Bingo, right?
Yeah.
And it's Emotional Me. And in the movie, you see Bingo and he's like, go, go, go. In my mind, I can think of my 14-year-old self, that drought-ridden fan watching terrible Bills teams, watching my 36, almost 37-year-old self, watching a finally good Bills team beat the snot out of other NFL teams. So not to be like sentimental or any of that crap, because we're going to get past that right now.
It all up.
But I'll tell you, what happened last night was not a surprise to those who've been paying attention. You know, when it comes down to it, this Bills team is as advertised, you know, and I think that's something, Dan, obviously this being your gig, we're going to get deep into all this stuff, but I think you guys will very clearly find out that a lot of us who spend a lot of time watching the Bills, a lot of time covering the Bills, really believe that this was probably going to be the case from the onset.
And no, I mean, you hit the nail on the head. Surprisingly enough, I feel like rival fan bases, and particularly the national media, was not having it for the Buffalo Bills already. Everyone just hyper obsesses over big names specifically. And one thing that I would typically ride with all off season is that I said, look, like, let's stop pretending that this offensive DNA model has never been done before. Right? You look at some of these offenses that have been successful for the past couple of years, and really all they have is quality offensive line play, some good tight end play, a solid slot receiver. You really don't need these stud wide receivers out on the perimeter. And I always pointed out the Baltimore Ravens of last year, maybe not so much this year. The Kansas City Chiefs are also an entire perfectly example when it comes into it. But this model works. And it's gotten to a point right now where I'm sitting over here and I'm pulling up teamrankings.com, and we're looking at the Buffalo Bills right now as the highest scoring offense in the NFL by itself. But here's here's my thing, and Kevin even pointed this out on X last night. I mean, shit, dude. How long is Joe Brady going to be our offensive coordinator based off of these first 3 games, man? Is this going to be a one-hit wonder? I don't know, because he's 1,000% going to be having head coaching, at least interviews this offseason. I can almost guarantee it.
Yeah, I certainly got a lot of flack. I actually tweeted something last night about how I think Bills fans are going to have to come to grips with the fact that this will probably be a one and done year with Joe Brady. And to be honest with you, minus the first half of the Cardinals game, Bobby Babbage could be putting himself in that same position.
Yeah.
What he's done in the past, 10 quarters of football has been downright impressive, holding 3 teams to 23 points in 10 quarters.
Yeah, dude. I mean, honestly, guys, we just need to go on ahead and just appreciate what we have right here, because both of these young coordinators have been as advertised. And I absolutely loved it, because there were so many damn narratives that have died throughout the first 3 weeks of the season. So to begin with, number one, obviously Josh Allen being overrated. He's a turnover machine. Guess what? He has put the team on his back 2 out of the 3 games by itself. And right now he's second in overall touchdown passes, and he is playing efficient football. Not a single interception, by the way. My hot take from the Bills Roundtable a couple of weeks ago, saying that he would not throw a pick until week 4 against the Baltimore Ravens, still remains true. And I absolutely love it. And the second narrative, diving into it, was that Josh Allen can't play like hero ball this entire season, right? That's what they were saying. It wasn't sustainable. But week 2 against the Dolphins, we saw that we could very easily win with just a stout run game, and James Cook could easily take over. I'll tell you what, Thomas, I'm going to go on ahead and I'm going to pull up some of these specific box score stats as of right now. And I think it's pretty easy to say from the Buffalo Bills side of things that the everybody eats mentality was on full display for the first 3 weeks of this season so far. But as you've had time to sit back with the film, rewatch the game, and understand some things, what were some things that the box score doesn't necessarily suggest? Who were some of the standouts last night that not a lot of people are talking about based off of everything we've seen?
Well, I'll tell you one. People don't appreciate what Matt Collins does. You know, they talked about Matt Collins and Marquez Valdez-Scantling getting a lot of the run last night. What I think people don't realize is the amount of clear out routes, the amount of football routes that they run on a consistent basis are the reason Dalton Kincaid and James Cook and Khalil Shakir can eat underneath and in the middle of the field. Those things are so dramatically important and are so that, I mean, when they talk about unsung heroes in a football game, those are the guys that do that dirty work. They're the ones that makes everybody else's lives unbelievably easy. And on top of that, with Matt Collins, and I don't know if you saw it last night, Matt Collins had some damn right dirty blocks.
Yeah.
On James Cook's touchdown on the wheel route to the left-hand side of the end zone, Matt Collins delivered a beautiful block that cleared the way for James Cook to get into the end zone. Those are the little things that, you know, when Sean McDermott talks about and preaches 1/11th, right? When you talk about everybody eating, or, you know, making sure that it's a family type of team. Those are the things that matter. That's the stuff that makes a difference, right? But then the other side to that, right? We played the Jaguars. We played Gabriel Davis. Gabriel Davis was impeccable blocker. Things that he did last year for the Bills, you can't find very often. The difference is with him and Matt Collins is Matt Collins makes those catches when you need to make them. When it's over the middle for a touchdown, when it's for a third and 7 and you need that first, Matt Collins did that. So, you know, those kind of darlings that I'd like to call them, the ones that don't get a lot of praise, those are the ones that make the biggest impact. And then obviously you've got the notorious guys, but we'll get into those after.
Yeah, no. I mean, also one unsung hero as well, this offensive line. I'm not sure if it was you or somebody else in so the Bills of the community or whatnot, but like this offensive line has been far exceeding expectations. I even saw somebody in the national media say that he believes the Buffalo Bills have the best offensive line in all of football. And I mean, you're looking at back there, and I mean, listen, this Jacksonville Jaguars pass rush are no slouches whatsoever. And the fact that sitting there watching Josh Allen drop back and have the ability to make a sandwich, make a phone call, and then end up completing a pass. It is absolutely incredible to watch. I mean, honestly, with the run blocking schemes, pass protection, as far as it's all played out, this offensive line has also been something where there's not many pass rushes, I think, that I fear going into the remainder of the season. Even with the Baltimore Ravens, I still feel pretty good about this matchup with the trenches, with the Bills offensive line minus their pass rush. Shout out to the Bills offensive line. I'm not sure if there's anything that you've been seeing from them, but they have been playing fucking filthy football.
So, couple things. One, David Edwards is the number 1 graded guard in the NFL currently.
Funny enough, that was my biggest concern. Like on this
biggest concern for a lot of people was that because you took Connor McGovern out of a left guard spot where he played pretty well last year, replacing Mitch Morse with him, and then David Edwards coming off the bench. I mean, he has been a revelation of sorts. Not surprising with a guy like Aaron Cromer, who is a offensive line whisperer.
Yeah.
But the other one that's been really impressive, man, a guy that for a lot of Bills fans, it was, do you pay Groot? Do you pay, Spencer Brown? A lot of people didn't like the idea of Spencer Brown because all the injury history and the up and down play. And Spencer Brown yesterday did not allow a single pressure.
Incredible.
Did not allow a win against a pass rusher yesterday. So if you want to talk about what's happening on that offensive line, the biggest problem with the Bills offensive line for a long time is you had deficiencies on different points, right? You would have Deion Dawkins, who was really good, but then he'd be playing next to Vlad Ducasse, or he'd be playing next to John Miller, and you might have a good center, but then your right tackle would be atrocious, right? Now you have the sum of all parts. You have a group of core pieces that are all playing at a high proficient level. And when it comes to this offensive line, what you're seeing that's really good is they're causing displacement just in spades. Their ability to create leverage and using combo blocks has been what makes them so talented. You're seeing guys like Spencer pull. You're seeing guys like David Edwards pull. You're seeing this offensive line utilize its not only its authentic ability, but its athletic ability as well to get out into space and create movement for your running back, for Josh Allen. And like you were saying, Dan, it speaks volumes. Josh Allen is having all day to throw, all day. Yeah. And the biggest thing that people talked about, right? Because Arizona's defensive line is nothing.
Yeah.
You knew you weren't going to have much problem with them. Miami, though, the question was, could they be anything? Okay, well, you handled Miami. Then it was, okay, Jacksonville, that's going to be a test. That's going to be a test with Joshua Hines-Allen, Eric Armstead, Travon Walker. What happened? Not one sack, not one pressure off the right-hand side. Deion Dawkins had a very nice game. The interior held up really well. So when is the next litmus test, right? When is it? Because every single week there is a litmus test of what the course correction is and how the Bills can be. They've found a way to neutralize every effect that has been thrown their direction. This offensive line is honestly one of the best ones I've seen it's been the best offensive line in Josh Allen's time. It's one of the best offensive lines in the last 25 years.
Oh, shit. All right. So big statement right here. Folks, listen, do me a favor. 272 of you in total in this room right now. Thank you so much. 187 of you on YouTube. 84 of you on X. Guys, do me a favor. All right, listen, we want 200 like buttons smashed each and every single live stream that we get in. So do your part. Hit that thumbs up and propel it out to the YouTube algorithm. And also, my boy Thomas has a podcast of his own, a YouTube channel of his own. It is linked in the description. All right. Listen, of all 187 of you in here right now, I need you to go to the description and I need you to go subscribe to my boy right now. He does a great job. As many of you know, I always like to sort of categorize myself as a fan. I love screaming at a computer, getting hyped. Sometimes I just need to bring people that are way more intelligent than myself about the X's and O's and things that I potentially can't see because I am dedicated on keeping you guys entertained. All right. So go ahead, show some love over to my boy Thomas. He knows his shit, man. I'll tell you what. And shout out to Cody coming in with a super chat right now. And he says, do either of you have thoughts on then post game when Josh Allen said, everybody eats, no one is demanding touchdowns comments? I'm not sure about you, Thomas, but I have seen so many subliminal shots to Stephon Diggs in several post conferences from Josh Allen going into it. And I'll tell you what, I think the writing was on the wall. All right. I don't care about the Sports Illustrated kids cover. I almost guarantee you that that man was annoying the hell out of Josh Allen. And some of us were saying takes like, oh my God, maybe the reason why he was so reckless with the football, why he threw so many picks in the past was because there was something in the back of his mind that thought that if he didn't feed Stephon Diggs, there was going to be problems. Even if you just look at Josh Allen's facial expressions on the sideline, he just looks calm. He looks collected. He's not worried about somebody asking for the football, afraid someone's going to be throwing a bitch fit in the locker room. Most definitely, I think that those are subliminal shots. What do you think? What do you think?
I last night had to hold myself. I had a couple cans of liquid courage last night.
Wonderful.
And I had to refrain multiple times. I did leak once, but I had to refrain multiple times from taking very pointed shots at Stephon Diggs.
Yeah.
You know, I mentioned all last offseason that I thought there's no way Stephon Diggs could be traded and everything's fine, right?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of us convinced ourselves that, and more often than not, made ourselves believe that nothing was wrong. Stephon Diggs wasn't a problem, that there was no dilemma, that everything was okay, yada, 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 rinse and repeat, right? I think we all sat there and had that sentiment this offseason that Stephon Diggs could never be traded. In fact, I got blasted on Twitter for a very, very big tweet and got old takes exposed. And so when it comes to stuff like this, I mentioned after he was traded, and I said this very, very specifically, I really do wonder if Stephon Diggs' departure could spell Josh Allen having the best year of his career. Maybe not statistically, right? I still think it's possible. But I truly believe that Stephon Diggs was so much in Josh Allen's ear that he couldn't just organically allow the offense to be.
Yeah.
Right. And I think something that was said last night about Trevor Lawrence, which holds very true. Last night in the first series for the Jaguars out of the half, they just played. No stress, just played. And Trevor Lawrence had the best drive of his entire night. And there's something to be said for football players just playing football, right? Just taking the handcuffs off, not having that just innate stress that comes with it every week. And Stephon Diggs, seemingly, because he wanted 150 to 160 targets every year, he was very, whether he believed it or not, whether he wanted to say it or not, was very openly talkative about his sentiments or how he wanted to be, whether it was cryptic or not. I believe that these shots, Josh is not a dummy. Josh doesn't say a lot, but when he says something, you really should listen.
Yeah.
What he said last night, I think was just he knows Stephon Diggs is watching, and what the fact that Stephon Diggs and the Houston Texans got belt to ass by the Minnesota Vikings yesterday or the day before. I think Josh basically said, I hope the grass is greener, bud, because right now everything is just very copacetic. And the other part that I don't know if you caught this, but I think it was incredibly important, and I think it was even more of a shot, was he talked about Khalil Shakir, which, that's my guy. He talked about Khalil Shakir, and he said Khalil Shakir just doesn't ask for anything, is not selfish, doesn't, in practice might get 2 catches, but then shows up and does what he needs to do in the game. He doesn't drop any balls. He's always where he needs to be. Those are the comments that tell me Josh trusts his team. And I said that last night. He trusts his guys. Last year, a big point to this, and it's going to handcuff with Stephon Diggs. Everybody said, why did they throw that pass to Khalil Shakir for the touchdown? They should have taken the underneath pass to Stephon Diggs. You know why? Because just prior to that play, Stephon Diggs dropped what would have been Josh Allen's greatest throw. You talk about that Xavier Worthy the pass where he threw it back. Travis Kelce threw it back, and it would have been in his Hall of Fame video. That throw in the Chiefs game last year would have been in Josh Allen's Hall of Fame video as the greatest throw he had ever made if Stephon Diggs comes down with that and runs it for a touchdown. He didn't. The following play, what does he do? He goes to the guy that he knows sure-handed, that he can trust implicitly in Khalil Shakir. That follows suit with yesterday. Josh Allen knows what he wants. He's got what he wants. He got the guy out of town that he didn't need because he didn't need the headache anymore.
Oh my God, man. Listen, I can tell you what, it is a breath of fresh air watching all of this production coming from the Buffalo Bills offensive side of the ball. And what makes it interesting too is that if I'm a defensive coordinator and if I'm watching film for the past 3 weeks, how in the hell is anybody really going to be able to put up a game plan against this offense? I think it almost behooves the Bills that there's no clear cut like number one target for this team. Finally, we had Dalton Kincaid getting involved a little bit. Still only 3 receptions for 41 yards, but I love that touchdown pass from him. Saw that Keon Coleman was finally able to make it into the end zone, which was funny too, because Sean McDermott was just playing dad to him because he was late to the game and he sat him the entire first quarter. You see that?
I love it. I think that's what you should do.
He just told the rookie, he's like, dude, listen, you can't be late. He put him in timeout. He put the young man in timeout, and then he still ended up going out there and making a play. And not bad separation. Not bad separation, I would say, from the guy that was argued being slow and doesn't have the ability to create any separation. I mean, shout out to Brandon Beane. I mean, this year he was playing Moneyball, and this is the most competitive roster I think that I have seen in quite some time. I mean, really moving on to the defense, I do want to move on to the defense. You already teased that we're all sitting here obsessing over the fact that Joe Brady may not be here for long, but what Bobby Babich has been able to do is really almost personnel aside, the scheme by itself and the play calling is just wildly effective football. Even with Bernard being out, with Taron Johnson being out, this team has held their opponents to 20 points in the past 2 weeks with a couple of very key pieces out. And I'm almost assuming that it has everything to do with this pass rush. The reemergence of Von Miller playing one of the most efficient football he's played in like 5 or 6 years. He's 35. Javon Solomon had a damn game last night. Of course, that forced fumble, a sack that went into it by itself. Ingram doing his thing, AJ Epinesa doing his thing, Casey Toohill, which I know everybody was surprised he made the roster, but apparently this coaching staff knows what they're doing. And Benford, once again, I would say becoming probably one of the best cornerbacks in the NFL by itself. Standouts on the defense for you, man. Talk to me.
You know, man, I got to say down the middle, Dorian Williams and Balin Spector, they're not pretty by any stretch, right? They're a work in progress. But to be able to replace Terrell Bernard and Matt Milano, Matt Milano is one of the best linebackers, and Terrell Bernard is one of the up-and-coming all-pro linebackers in the NFL, is a pretty tall task of any player to replace. I mean, that's like somebody going in and trying to replace Fred Warner, right? Like, it's not an easy thing to do. And they're doing a darn good job, you know? Guys like Damar Hamlin, who nobody thought, everyone wrote off, right? Man. You know, like the clone. Everybody thought he was not going to be able to succeed. What is he doing? Succeeding. You know, and I'm a huge Sean McDermott apologist. And I think if you're going to talk about anybody that deserves kudos yesterday, and I'll get into the players, Sean McDermott deserves the world, man. What this guy does on a year in and year out basis of elevating, coaching, developing, conditioning, growing, teaching, loving, learning, just a roster of young men into talented, some on borderline Pro Bowl to all pro players is downright ridiculous. And he does it every single year. Took Jamarcus Ingram, a dude who was a walk-in out of UB, and has made him a name, like a household, soon to be a real household name. He took a guy like Cam Lewis and turned him into like a pretty reasonable nickel corner, outside boundary corner, slot, inside, outside safety. He took him and made him good, like a guy that you could legitimately play for 4 quarters of a football game. You went ahead and took a 6th round Christian Benford, who everybody's like, yeah, that's nice, Villanova, fine, and turned him into literally, statistically, the best corner in the NFL. You've taken a defensive line like Ed Oliver, who everybody thought, I can't believe you gave him that much money, is literally one of the best defensive linemen in the game.
Yeah.
Like, what's baffling to me is the credit that Sean doesn't get. Like, not everything's pretty. Has he had his mistakes? Absolutely. I'm never going to forget what happened in 13 seconds, and neither should you.
Yeah.
But goddamn, man, what he's done to this roster, not having Matt Milano, not having Terrell Bernard, not having Taron Johnson, and holding for the last 10 quarters 3 teams to 23 points while having 112 points on offense is,
come on.
I mean, that's like absurd in today's NFL.
Mm-hmm.
But what they're doing is they are eliminating all the mistakes. They're playing, I mean, one of the big things in preseason, all the penalties. Where are the penalties? There is none. They're all cleaned up. You talk about being in the right place at the right time. You know, somebody said last night, I tweeted it out about Damar Hamlin. I said, Damar Hamlin read it perfectly. And somebody commented said, oh, well, it was an overthrow. Yes, and he was in the right place at the right time. You have to be taught where to be, knowing your zones, knowing your assignments to be able to get that interception. How many times you see it like Tremaine Edmonds off his fingers because he wasn't in the right place? Last night was a masterclass of being where you needed to be at the right time to make the right plays. Sean McDermott deserves all the credit in the world. The other side to that, last night was a tough test. 3 very good wide receivers. I know people don't like Gabe Davis, but the dude, if you let him loose, can absolutely torch you and have a big game. Brian Thomas Jr., one of the best young wide receivers in the game. And then Christian Kirk, a very highly underrated slot receiver. They locked them down. Rasul Douglas, Cam Lewis, Jamarcus Ingram, and Christian Benford deserve the world right now. What they are doing in the NFL as unnamed, I mean, Rasul Douglas, prior to coming to Buffalo, he was kind of a name, but not really. Yeah. And then the other 3 are an absolute unknowns to most circles in the NFL. They are demolishing teams hand over fist, and they've done it 3 weeks in a row. Marvin Harrison Jr., Michael Thomas, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle. Last night, Gabe Davis, Brian Thomas Jr., Christian Kirk.
Yeah.
And they've held them all in check.
Yeah.
That is what needs to be talked about. A secondary that Sean McDermott continually coaches up.
See, I'll tell you what. And I mean, so I know that a lot of people can try and diminish these wins from the Buffalo Bills. Like, oh my God, like, please look at the Miami Dolphins, look at the Jaguars, look at the look at the Arizona Cardinals. And listen, I think that this upcoming week on Sunday, I think that we will be presented some challenges with the Baltimore Ravens defense, with our offense, although that I'm still confident that we can find some matchups, but I'm not sure about you, man. But when I look at Sean McDermott's history at being able to reasonably contain Derrick Henry while he was over in Tennessee, I mean, of course, outside of that meme run where he took Josh Norman and stiff-armed him like 15 yards off to the side, for the most part, that matchup with Derrick Henry is McDermott and company has done a fantastic job of being able to contain them. But I'll tell you what, man, I'm really I would say this Baltimore Ravens team coming up probably has the least amount of scary weapons compared to all 3 of the teams that we have faced already, because you just rattled those names off. We had Waddle, we had Tyreek Hill right within Miami. You have Marvin Harrison Jr., you had Trey McBride, and then week 3, obviously, you end up having Christian Kirk, you have ETN, blah, blah, blah. And I look at this Baltimore Ravens team who does not have a good offensive line. It is certainly a massive liability. And I'm sorry, but I am trusting our secondary against the likes of Zay Flowers, Isaiah Likely, and a Mark Andrews who just doesn't look the same. Mm-hmm. I really don't see Baltimore succeeding against this defense much next week. I might be jumping the gun. Haven't really had a, time to sit down and sort of look at the numbers and see how they did against the Dallas Cowboys. But thoughts on how this defense matches up against Baltimore, because I'm feeling really good on that side of the ball.
Well, I'll say this. There's something wrong with Mark Andrews. I don't know what that is. I know he had a car accident as well as an injury prior to the season. I still think he's not healthy. So you could see that last night. He's just been not part of the offense. Isaiah Likely's good. I don't know if he's quite to that elite level tight end just yet. So I'm not concerned solely, though you still have to respect him as a tight end. Yeah. Their real true test is Zay Flowers. Zay Flowers is an electric, really clean route running wide receiver who, in and out of his breaks, is just a nightmare to deal with because he's quick, twitchy, real fast, and has great hands. So that's going to be the biggest test. I'm not super concerned with Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry had one game against the Bills where he had 143 yards and 3 touchdowns. In the other 4 games, he had 210 yards. So in total, 210 yards in total. So it's not as though he had one good game and the rest, it's just been pretty much him being kind of held captive. The other part, and I've said this last week, people talked about the Jaguars and how it was a big question mark for us. And we got that bugaboo off our back. Thank God. There is those games and those teams. Miami a couple weeks ago, I mentioned it. I thought they were going to beat them big. They did. The Bills have teams' numbers. And quite frankly, Lamar Jackson just doesn't do well against the Bills. Last year they played against them and he collapsed in the second half, did absolutely nothing in terrible weather. I think what it's going to come down to is, because if this offense is as potent as we believe it is and as potent as it has seen, Lamar Jackson's going to have to get into a shooting match. And I just don't believe that Lamar Jackson has that capability. Are you going to have to keep him from running? Certainly. That is a huge proponent to their success. If you can hem him in and not allow him to, snap off 15 to 20 yard runs at a clip, then you should be able to win this game. I think those are the big things, because our secondary, like I just mentioned, should be able to contain their weapons, because outside of Zay Flowers, you're talking Nelson Aguilar, Devontae Walker.
Yeah.
It's not a lot. If we're being fair, and I like Rashad Bateman. He was fine out of college. He hasn't lived up to the hype. He is a number 3 on most teams in the NFL. He's playing number 2 because they have nobody else and Odell Beckham is gone. So if you look at that team, I think they're a quality team from last year that has regressed. They lost a lot of talent. Their defense has gotten worse. And let's be fair, they squeaked out a win yesterday. I don't think that they were impressively better yesterday, on Sunday. So I'm going to still, spend some time this week looking at the tape of the Bills, looking at the tape of at the Ravens, but I'm not terrified, if we're being honest.
See, I'll tell you what, man, it's feeling good. And like I mentioned at the beginning of this stream, folks, the last time the Buffalo Bills were 3-0, we ended up 13-3, and we made it to the AFC Championship. Now, obviously, I don't want to jump the gun, because we have a hell of a 3-game road stretch. Obviously, we're playing the Ravens in Baltimore. Then we travel over to Houston to play the Texans. And then we play the Jets at MetLife. Fun fact, I am going to be there. Say that you guys want to buy some tickets right to the Roundtable event. Certainly send me a DM over on X. We only have a couple of left, and I am certainly looking forward to meeting each and every single one of you. 388 of you in here right now. 396, excuse me. Do me a favor, guys. If you are on YouTube right now, 259 of you, make sure you smash that like button. We are having a funeral for the Jacksonville Jaguars organization after one of the worst ass beatings I think that I have ever seen in my entire life, live in person, witnessing it myself. So make sure you smash that like button. And like I said, go subscribe to Thomas's YouTube channel. All right. It is linked in my description. Please put a 1 in the chat once you do so for me. He puts out great NFL content, really breaks down the game. Love what he's doing over there. Sincerely. Let's switch the coin. So right here, man, thoughts on the Jacksonville Jaguars, specifically even the Cincinnati Bengals, right? Because 2 teams that I think were rumored to be somewhat competitive. One would assume that since only one team has made the playoffs starting 0-3 since 2000, you got to assume both of them are in some severe trouble. What do you think is wrong with both of those organizations?
Well, I'll say this. Since 1979, only 6 teams have made it to the playoffs who started 0-3, and both of them are 0-3. So the odds are definitely not in their favor. Yeah, I think when you look at those teams, you have to be fair and honest about their assessment. And, Josh Allen is the quality of quarterback, and there's only one other like him in the NFL, and Patrick Mahomes, that can elevate a roster that is middling to maybe average to maybe a little above average. I like Joe Burrow, but Joe Burrow is a very one-dimensional quarterback, right? He doesn't evade the pocket. He has a great arm, one of the most accurate to ever do it. But when that's all you can do, you better damn well do everything else great, right? Your whole team better be pretty good, because it's hard, unless you're Tom Brady, to elevate an entire roster when there's so many other deficiencies, especially considering T. Higgins has been missing, Jamar Chase held out. And then after that, you've got Trey Burton, Andre Isavas, Trenton Irwin. That it's not Mike Gesicki, Zach Moss, like not a great specials group, when you're talking about having extra weapons. So if you don't have your top end talent, you better be able to help in other ways. And I think that's a big issue there. And I like Joe Burrow. I really do. I think Joe Burrow is supremely accurate, but I think early in his career really helped him more so than now. I think his injury history is a huge issue. You've seen it. He can't stay healthy, and that's obviously played a role. Who knows if he's 100% healthy currently because he's coming off of issues from the offseason. And then, to be fair, I don't really love Joe Burrow, the prospect, as a quarterback in today's NFL.
Me neither.
In today's NFL, you got to have athleticism. Exactly. He is a perfect 1990s quarterback in the wrong era. And then if you look at the other side with the Jacksonville Jaguars, I mentioned this before. I used to watch Elite 11, which was back when Trent Dilfer used to coach high school quarterbacks, basically kind of getting them ready for college to then into pros. And two of the ones that were on there were Justin Fields and Trevor Lawrence. And Trevor Lawrence, from day one, has always been the guy. He's been highly touted. Everybody thought the moon of this cat. And rightfully so. He looks the part. He really does. Beautiful throw. Great mechanics, really compact passer, has the ability to evade the pocket. But there's something truly just amiss to me upstairs between the ears. Mm-hmm. The decisions that he makes, the poor throws that he has at the worst possible times, it's just not good. And last night there was a play that actually you could tell he seemed spooked, where he got sacked, but he spun like an inverted spin to the inside of the center to try to get out of trouble instead of just literally taking either a step, take a step forward or taking a step out of the pocket. And those are the moments that tell me there's something more going on. And I know a lot of it had to do with having bad coaching. Urban Meyer probably had a bad stroke of just negativity into his demeanor and to his trajectory. But I think those two teams, man, there's a lot more wrong than there is right. And people are going to blame Doug Peterson. Man, I think there's a lot more issues than Doug Peterson on that team. Tressway. I can't remember the OC's coach or the OC from Jacksonville, but just the play designs last night were really just piss poor, really bad time runs, really bad time calls. I just think those teams are a lot further away than people thought, and they're resting a lot on other successes that they've had previously. And you can't do it in today's NFL. Today's NFL is what have you done for me lately? Yeah.
No, man, listen, I 100% agree with you. I have never really been high on Joe Burrow. I thought that he was a wide receiver merchant. I thought that he was a yards after the catch merchant. Very much how I look at Tua. And to be completely honest with you, those two I have looked at in very similar capacities. But I mean, looking forward, dude, I mean, I'm not sure about you, but at the beginning of this season, I had the Buffalo Bills pegged at 12-5, right? But the way that we have been looking, I'm still kind of on the fence of whether or not that I want to change my final record sort of prediction, because obviously it's unrealistic to think that we are going to go, 17-0 or 16-1 or 15-2. But asking you and chat, definitely sound off. We're going to transition over to a Q&A segment after this take real fast, because I know y'all have a lot to say. 414 of you in here already. Again, hate to sound like a broken record, but I will until you listen to what I have to say, folks. Smash that like button for me. Let's get this up to 200. Subscribe to the channel. So close to 26,000 subscribers. And go subscribe over to Thomas's YouTube channel. By the end of this stream, he better tell me he has surpassed 100 subscribers. Do it and put a 1 in the chat once you ended up doing it. But Thomas, has your final record prediction, looking at the remainder of our schedule, changed? Are you staying put? Have your expectations changed for the better based off of what we have seen for the first 3 weeks?
I mean, I was inherently bullish on this team as it was. I think, people kind of, I get a lot of flack on Twitter, and part of that is people think I'm not critical enough, or I don't sit there and look at them through a lens of like another fan base. I don't have that innate negativity, which inherently, I'm sorry, I'm a Bills fan. I am going to be a forever optimist. But looking at this team, I saw that there was some potential question marks as to how things would transpire. Could Joe Brady continue on his late season successes in 2023, carry them over into this year? And you're seeing that's the case. Could this defense, really step up? Was Von Miller going to be good, which we've seen 3 sacks through 3 games? He seems to some degree back to at least a lot better than what he was for the last year and a half. So in that perspective, how do I feel? I think that the Bills team has every potential to be the number 1 seed and, quite frankly, be the number 1 team in the NFL. I said this last weekend that I thought the Bills were the best team that played last weekend, and I think the Bills were the best team that played this weekend as well. I think they're the most complete roster. It's not always flashy or doesn't have a ton of big names, but what they do have is steady contributors, guys who play within the system, play within themselves, are smart, and do what they have to do to be effective, right? And if you look at this roster from 1 to 53, they've got guys that can play, and they play well and at a high level. And I think, everyone always says they're only going to go as far as Josh Allen, and that's true, 100%. But I think they're going to go as far as this offense takes them. And if you look at what this offense can do early on and what Josh did yesterday, 268 yards, 23 for 30, 4 touchdowns, he has a 75% completion percentage so far in the season. And they haven't really got going. I mean, it wasn't, I hate to say it, like if you look at the stats yesterday, not that they were pedestrian, but I mean, it wasn't like anything incredible. I mean, they had the ball. Hold on one second. I'm going to bring this up for you just because it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
They had the ball total 33 to 28 in total time. So it wasn't like the Bills just held the ball for the entire game. Yards wise, it wasn't crazy. It wasn't like James Cook just blew the doors off. I mean, no receiver really had this monster number. I mean, the number 1 receiver was Shakir with 72 yards receiving. James Cook or Josh Allen led all runners with 44 yards.
Yeah.
In total offense was 388. So, I mean, if you can do that right now, early part of the season, where this was supposed to be one of the gauntlet runs of the year, yeah, I think the Bills can. I mean, there's going to be points, and we say this every year. Some teams that are good last year are going to be bad. Some teams that are bad are going to be good. The strength of schedule that they give every year is really just smoke and mirrors because it never really tells the whole truth.
Absolutely.
I think, man, if you look at this Bills team, they have the legit 12-5. I think is a floor if we're being fair.
No,
I really, really believe if this team that played yesterday and the day before, or the yesterday and last Thursday, man, I really think this team could have just put some hurting on some bad teams because you're going to see it real quick. A lot of these teams that we thought are going to be implicitly some of the best are going to be dog shit.
Yeah. No, listen, so that's why I hate giving final record predictions, especially at the beginning of the year, because everybody puts those predictions out with the false notion that every single roster is going to be fully healthy 100% throughout the season. And exactly what we saw from Cincinnati, from what we have seen from Baltimore, slow start. I mean, with the damn Steelers being on top of the AFC North, I really don't think anybody anticipated that. I don't think anyone thought that Sam Darnold was going to revive his damn career over in Minnesota and be the best quarterback in the league when it comes into pass touchdowns throughout 3 weeks. This is a crazy season, man. And honestly, I look at this damn schedule, and I was talking to my dad earlier this morning, and I said, look, this gauntlet coming up, right? Ravens, Texans, and then the Jets. I would be absolutely thrilled with 2-1 walking out of here. I would say the team that scares me the most out of all 3 of those, full transparency, is probably the Jets, just because I think defensively they match up the best with our offense and what we can put out on the table. Loved what we did during that second matchup with Joe Brady because it was largely a James Cook show. We still hung up 30 points on them our second matchup last year, but I think the Jets is probably our biggest challenge. I'm not so much concerned about the Houston Texans. I really think that we're going to be able to do exactly what Minnesota's defense did to them. A lot of secondary issues over in Houston. it's that Jets game on Monday Night Football, which I think is one of the ones that I think would be the game that we drop within these next 3.
See, I'm not scared of the Jets.
No.
At all. No, okay. And I'll tell you why. The Jets did well against us with a receiving core that could not create separation.
Okay.
If you looked at what the Jets did last year in week 1, it was Trent Sherfield, Gabe Davis, and then Stephon Diggs. That was it.
Yeah.
Really. You shut down Stephon Diggs, you shut down the offense. And that was under Ken Dorsey's auspice. If you look at what Joe Brady did to them later in the year, totally different game plan. And now you've got a fully revamped wide receiver core who can create separation, has speed off the line, has the ability to win one-on-one routes. You saw that last night. I mean, you spoke Keon Coleman can't get separation. Yes, he can. In straight line speed, he was the number 1 wide receiver in the combine this past year. The Bills have a better team. Like, I understand last year, and this is not to shout at you, Dan. This is more so like an overarching theme that people keep talking about. You know, the Bills themselves are not the Bills of last year. Everybody, that's the best part, right? I'm going to use this. I'm going to use this against people because I love using shit that they say to then inflict pain in them.
Of course.
They sit there and want to talk about how the Bills are, they're the same as last year, but then they're retooling. Is it one or is it the other? Because you can't have it both ways. If they're not the same and we lost a bunch of talent, then we certainly are not the same team as last year. And if that is in fact the case, then the team that was last year did not play the Jets this year, right? So if you look at this team right now, the Bills are the better team on paper than the Jets. Like, I like what the Jets have. I love Braylon Allen. He is going to be a pain in the ass running back for a long time, really talented. But outside of that, I haven't been that impressed with the secondary or the defensive line for the Jets. The Jets lost a ton of talent. They lost Bryce Huff. They lost JFN. I mean, Quentin Williams is unbelievable, but he's only one person. They lost Quentin. Why am I blanking on his name? He was with the Bills a couple years ago. Needless to say, lost a ton of talent on the defensive line.
Yeah.
Sauce Gardner's stats are pedestrian so far this year.
Yeah.
DJ Reed is only going to go as far as Sauce takes him. And then you've got Michael Carter, who's a very good slot corner, but has been proven to be able to be beaten. I think this Bills team has much better talent, whether it's Khalil Shakir, Curtis Samuel, Dalton Kincaid, Dawson Knox, who showed up last night, James Cook out of the wheel, Ty Johnson, who continues to impress as a third running back, Ray Davis. The litany of talent from 1 to 10 in the specialist group for the Bills for their weapons is going to be able to handle these teams, because that's what the Bills couldn't do before. They just did not have enough talent. They didn't, purely.
Yeah.
People want to sit there and talk about it. They told us. Other teams told us our wide receivers sucked.
Yeah.
So now that they do, and they're actually good, and we've got depth, you can't speak out of both sides of your mouth. Okay, go ahead. Sorry. I'm done.
Yeah. No. All right. So the Jets don't scare you. So do any teams in this next 3-game stretch? So are you saying that you're pretty confident that we're walking out of here 3-0, or if we do drop one, what's the biggest concern for you?
What are the next 3? It's the Ravens, Jets,
Ravens, Texans, and the Jets. He says none. Say it, bro. Say it, man. I'm fine with it. I'm pumped up if you say 3-0. 3-0.
I mean, after watching what the Texans did, after what the Texans had happened to them with the Vikings, and the Bills have a defense that I think is as competent as them, and their cornerbacks are just as talented as the Vikings, I think they have the ability to hold on there. I think 5-1 is the floor. I know it's crazy as shit to say that out loud.
5-1 is the floor.
I don't think it's that wild to think that the Bills, homer me, whatever. I don't care. I get it all the time. People think I'm a homer. Fine. Follow me on Twitter at @ThomasDeLoss. You can find all my homer takes there.
Be a homer.
All of them.
Be a homer, please. I love it.
I really think the Bills could absolutely take the next 3. If they play like they did last night, I think a lot of teams are going to have a hell of a time playing the Buffalo Bills. Because what I will say, defense or not, what Josh Allen can do when he is playing efficient, smart football is beat teams hand over fist. Because if he's taking, and what he did yesterday, you saw it, if he's taking the easy shit underneath, if he's taking those dump off throws and getting 10 yards a clip on every single one of those throws, it's going to be very difficult, because as soon as he does that, now your linebackers play forward, now your safeties move in, and now that second level, third level of Josh Allen's best part of his offense opens up, the game's over.
Yeah.
Period. Absolutely. And that doesn't even include the running attack. So I think when it comes down to these teams, they have to be perfect. When everybody talks about, Patrick Mahomes, you have to be perfect playing the Bills right now because their offense is playing at such a high level that their defense can make a mistake because Josh Allen bails them out, and the defense is causing turnovers, which gives Josh Allen more ability to score more points.
Dude, I absolutely love it. Now, fun fact, Thomas, somebody DM'd me on X last night, and they gave me TD Finn's Talk stream, and they gave me a timestamp because he was live reacting to the Buffalo Bills and the Jacksonville Jaguars last night. And apparently our good friend is in shambles. So I want to see. I haven't watched this. This is a this is a live reaction. Let's check this out.
They secondary too young. I really believed it. I still believe it, but they just good. They great. I mean, we struggle with these bums. We struggle with these bums. And now they blowing bums out. At halftime, we struggled to beat these bums, and they just waxing them. I'm just sorry, man. The Bills are on a different level, and that's what I was saying. Oh, man. That's what I was telling y'all about. The Jets even.
He's going full Cosby right now.
Dude, he's going crazy, man. Dude. Come on, TD. What do you got for it? Dude, listen, if you have not watched his live streams when the Dolphins play, you absolutely need to.
What have I become? My sweetest friend.
Dude, holy shit, man. Shout out TD Finn's Talk, man. Shout out TD Finn's Talk. This is my poor friend. My poor friend. Folks, let me tell you what, guys. I just pinned Thomas's channel to the top of this live chat right now. Like I said, we want to get him over 100 subscribers by the end of this. Damn.
And I promise I'm going to have content this week. I was supposed to have my show already and get some stuff up. But like I told Dan at the beginning of the show, I had a child a couple days ago. So no content, but I promise there will be stuff.
Yeah. We will give him a break, guys. 293 of you on YouTube right now rocking with us this morning. And it sounds like you guys like Thomas. So I think I might be bringing him on for all of our game recap shows in the Dan Mitchell channel, as long as you're okay with that, Thomas.
I'm always available.
My man. All right, dude. Listen, I needed a co-host for my recaps after everything that knocks out with it, man. This is a beautiful thing. But go subscribe over to Thomas's channel. And guys, let's go on ahead and then transition over to a brief Q&A as of right now. So everybody in the chat, sound off. Let us know your questions. We probably have time for a couple. And then we're going to send you off until later today for BetUS TV's The Huddle, where I will certainly be having a conversation with TD Finn's Talk. And as you are thinking about the questions you're about to be dropping in, folks, do me a favor and smash that like button. Let's get this up to 200 likes as we come on in. Can feel that agony. Remember those drought years. Oh, we do. We definitely do. So, Thomas, I'm not sure about you, but I'm 33 years old. So, I mean, my entire childhood was the drought. Like all of those Super Bowl years for me, I was an infant. I was like 1 or 2. I was an adolescent. It really didn't sink in. So all I knew was just a quarterback carousel, a head coaching carousel. It's hard, man. It's hard. But ever since Josh Allen has graced this organization, Brandon Beane, what have you, things have turned around. First question from Dexy Gaming. Dan, I think the Bills have one of the best running back trios in the league based off of what we can put any of the three out there are and not skip a beat in the running, blocking, and catching. Thoughts? I'll tell you what, it was nice seeing Ray Davis sort of get his first touchdown last night. And I mean, James Cook, man, listen, here's my thoughts on it. What I think that people really don't discuss a lot when it comes into drafting running backs is that everybody loves to go with the backs that have a lot of tread on the tires. For example, like Jonathan Taylor, for example, was a great piece. And what happens? He now has like a sporadic injury history. James Cook was not utilized at UGA as like a true runner. He was predominantly a pass catcher. So seeing the moves that he was able to make getting into the NFL, he's about as fresh as you can possibly get. Why we're seeing all of that production. And same thing with Ty Johnson, same thing with Ray Davis, who does have a lot of tread on his tires, but have to give a lot of credit right to the run blocking scheme as well. With Cromer is, in my opinion, the best offensive line coach in the NFL, bar none. I'd have to agree with you. What do you think, Thomas?
Yeah, I mean, I think first off, like you said, the offensive line just being what it is at this moment just makes everything easier totality wise. But James Cook is just, if you look at, and I still remember to this day, I was at a Rochester Americans game with my wife and I was watching the draft on my phone and I literally said, please, for the love of God, draft James Cook here. And we did. And I literally shrieked in excitement. Him coming out of Georgia, you could just tell the guy he had juice, he had speed, didn't drop a pass in college. So this whole dropsy thing is not really a normal thing in James Cook repertoire. But now you're watching year over year, you're seeing his vision, his ability to, in one of the comments last night, his footwork is impeccable. They said that last night on air. James Cook is making defenders look silly, and he's doing it by gaining 5, 6, 7 yards at a time. And then having Ray Davis, who's great between the tackles, but can also snap off big time runs. We saw that last night again. And then for the third, which also I mentioned this, and I tweeted this a bit ago, all 3 Bills running backs scored last night. That's huge. You don't see that in the NFL nowadays, let alone one. All 3 of them. Ray Davis getting in the end zone on a rush. Josh Allen, obviously having that beautiful pass to Ty Johnson. They're just, man, what they're doing at the running back position right now is just complementary football. They all play off of each other perfectly. And James Cook can also lower the shoulder a little bit too. He's not just the traditional CJ Spiller scat back. He can actually do some damage. So are they the best in the NFL right now? I'd be hard. I mean, the only one I would say that's right there with them is the Jets. Truly. The Jets have, Jets maybe if Christian McCaffrey comes back, Jordan Mason looks really good, but that could also be scheme based. Braylon Allen and Breece Hall are really talented, but they don't really have a third one. I think it's Israel Abanikanda. I don't know how to say his last name.
Whatever the hell his name is. Yeah.
That was my try right there. No, I think they're right there. I think top 3 in the NFL. Yeah. All 3 guys are making an impact, and if you can get your third running back impacting, there's something going really right in your offense.
Absolutely, man. Shout out to Ty Johnson. I will say, though, I was a little pissed off when we saw James Cook drop that beautiful pass from Josh Allen. That would have been a walk into the end zone. I was just like, don't you do that to me again, James Cook. All right. I remember those compilations of the beautiful passes from Josh Allen last year that James Cook ended up dropping. But it is what it is, man. We have Retro Mutt coming in. Shout out to Retro. What's going on, man? Hope all is well. With Baltimore Ravens' interior offensive line being so dog shit, how do you think the Bills' defense is going to take advantage? Listen, man, I think that we are going to continue those pressure metrics, but the only difference is that they have a quarterback that can get over that obstacle of having a dog shit offensive line, right? So I think we definitely need to make sure that all of our guys on the second level are going to be on their P's and Q's. Linebackers specifically. Hopefully Bernard is back, right? I want to say that he might be returning, or maybe that's Taron Johnson next week. I thought that I saw on an injury report that September 29th was the projected comeback date. I could be wrong there. But yeah, most definitely, man. I think that our defensive line is certainly going to win their share of reps, but they have that extra level of security, an insurance policy of Lamar Jackson behind there. What do you think on that, Thomas? And by the way, Kevin, you're late, Kev. You're late.
Just a tidbit, but save the best for last, right?
Save the best for last, man. Listen, we all know that Kevin was just like up until 4 a.m. watching highlights last night. So was I. Don't worry. I was
pounding analytics, Dan.
He was pounding some analytics.
I was cutting up some of the smack talk takes from you. When you left, they went AWOL. We were talking about Jacksonville winning. We were talking about how they have the Bills number. I was just sitting there like, they have some of the worst DBs I've ever seen.
Just clipping. Oh man, it's beautiful. It was probably the Jets fans because I think that they were just trying to manifest a loss so that they could be on top of the AFC East. But funny,
it was one from each team.
It was one. Okay, perfect. Send that over to me, man, because I would love to play that on Wednesday.
Yeah,
so. That would be absolutely incredible. What a game, Kev.
Yeah. Were you guys just talking about Milano? Late December, I heard you say. So
no, we're talking about Bernard. Is he set to be back on the 29th, or was that Taron Johnson who's set to be back on the 29th?
So first will be Johnson. So okay. Johnson will be back. I I wouldn't say 6 days into Baltimore, but I would say Houston. I would say Taron Johnson back for Houston, and then the Jets game will be Bernard.
Okay, got it. Well, I'll tell you what, man, we have a Q&A segment going on right now.
Okay.
And our good friend Retro just said, with the Baltimore Ravens interior offensive line being so dog shit, how do you think the Bills defense is going to take advantage? And I said that they have a wonderful insurance policy with a quarterback that's able to roll outside of the pocket. And here's the thing. I reflect back on the Arizona Cardinals game, and definitely with Thomas or Kevin, feel free to chime in on this. When Kyler hurt us on week 1 with his ability to extend plays and use his legs. So while I see us getting some wins like on the defensive line, I really think that it's going to have to do with all of our guys on the second level. Just make sure that we hit our tackles. That's all I'm talking about.
Yeah, you have McDermott, who's able to play running quarterbacks as well as anyone I've seen. One of the overmatched Bills team against Lamar Jackson, in my opinion, in 2019 was the first real sign that McDermott knows how to at least make them decide to throw the ball. He runs DN contains, he runs pressure up the middle, which to his point about the interior O-line is struggle. That's how Dallas came back in the game. They just clogged everything up, and teams can go on runs against Baltimore. DN contain him. Like, unfortunately, you're going to get frustrated and you're going to see tweets. You can't get to the quarterback, but it's intentional when it comes to Lamar Jackson because you want to hem him in and make him throw. Their tight ends are a mess. Mark Andrews, they're not saying what's wrong with him. Zay Flowers is really their only weapon right now. Isaiah Likely's a nice story. I covered him a little bit in college. He had a really big game against UB at one point, and I remember covering him many years back and wanted actually the Bills to take him. I thought he was a good option for the Bills to be a receiving tight end for them. But pressure up the middle, the Bills' defensive scheme, like we saw it against Tua, we saw it against Trevor Lawrence, where people are missing throws, and you're like, well, that's a bad throw. Tua sucks. It's not that. The defense is confusing. You don't know where your receivers are going based on the coverage. So quarterbacks are making assumptions about where the receivers should be, and they're not there because of the Bills' coverage changes play to play. So you might be like, that was a terrible throw. Like Lawrence's throw last time was bad. However, he's thinking his receiver's breaking toward the pylon. He's thinking he's running a corner route. He wasn't, because he saw the coverage differently than the quarterback saw the coverage. So you're going to have those miscommunications against defenses like the Bills, and that's what you need to take advantage of with Lamar. And the Bills do a really good job of it. Interior pressure, their O-line sucks. Their defense is one of the worst in the league right now. That's how you handle that situation. Lamar Jackson, he's still a reigning MVP, whether you want to give it to him or not. He's still very talented, and he still can win you football games. So I don't ever like playing quarterbacks you would consider third, fourth, fifth. It's never fun because it's a 60-minute game. It's not a 7-game series. So they can absolutely take advantage of you, especially on the road. The Bills play the Ravens well every single time they play them, including back when they were super overmatched in 2019.
Mm-hmm. And so you have anything to add, Thomas?
Yeah, I mean, Kevin nailed most of it there. When it comes to Lamar, you just have to keep him throwing outside the numbers. Like, that's it. Yeah. He's very a limited quarterback. And it's not to be disrespectful. Like, people think I hate Lamar Jackson. You know, it has nothing to do with the guy himself. I'm a Syracuse fan. I watched him a ton back when he played at Louisville. I enjoyed watching him. It was a lot of fun to watch. But that doesn't change the fact that I don't think he's anywhere near the same caliber as Josh Allen. And the only reason Lamar Jackson won MVPs when he did was because he can run like almost no one can ever do besides Michael Vick. And last year, there just wasn't a better pick because Josh Allen had too many interceptions. Nobody believes in Purdy. And for some reason, they won't give MVP to Christian McCaffrey. I don't get it. So if you're looking at all those things being equal, I like Lamar Jackson, but he doesn't scare me. And like I mentioned earlier, some teams just have a hard time with other teams. And to this point, Lamar Jackson has not really had a good time against the Buffalo Bills. Until he does, I'm going to trust that a coach like Sean McDermott, who, again, can coach up his talent, no matter what level they are, whether they're elite, whether they're walk-ons, and he puts them in position to succeed. And he's done it every single year. He's done it each week this year. And look at what's happening. He's taking quarterbacks like Trevor Lawrence and Tua and Kyler Murray and making them look pedestrian. Yeah. I expect the same with Lamar Jackson.
I like that. I don't know if that's Mario or Paul. I don't know.
Definitely Mario who said, "Man, Allen is playing so good. and Lamar Jackson just locked down.
However, we'd be 1-2 if it was up to right now.
Hey man. Listen, this is an absolutely beautiful thing. Jason comes in and says, Dan, when do you feel Ray Davis will have his game, if or when he does? I mean, Jason, listen, man, I think why fix was not broken. I think that this running back by committee in certain situations is working. I love seeing Ray Davis, finally punch it into the end zone. Shout out Ty Johnson, too. I mean, solid reception touchdown. And just the week before, he cooked Jalen Ramsey right in the pass coverage situation. So I love what we have going on right now with this run game, with this running back room. This has been a masterpiece for Joe Brady. Thoughts on that, Thomas?
Yeah. I mean, the only reason, and I don't want to say it, but the only way Ray Davis gets as the starting role is if something happens to James Cook.
Yeah.
Like that's it. James Cook right now is the best running back in the game. Like if you watch what he's doing, he is such an impact player for the Buffalo Bills. There's not anybody else that's doing stuff that he's doing. And it may not be blowing the stat sheets, but when they call his number, and that's something Josh said last night, when they call your number, you need to show up. When James Cook's number is called, he makes outside of that one drop. And my wife looked at me because I think I moaned just implicitly and looked ridiculous. Oh, I looked so ridiculous. I was so mad.
Last night, bro. Trust me.
But when he does it, when James Cook makes a play, he makes such an impact. Like I said a little bit ago, his vision has become, some of the best in the game. So I don't think there's any reason to, like you said, Dan, why change what's not broken?
Yeah, no, absolutely. What you got on that, Kev?
I'm an interesting one on this topic because I'm not the largest James Cook fan. I think a lot of running backs in this Bills offense could do this. Another drop yesterday that he's got to have in a critical time. Luckily, this does not matter when Josh Allen's balling. It's just not a big deal, but that's not an isolated thing where he's not making that. Ty Johnson makes that play. And the Bills score a touchdown there. Ty Johnson's and why he's on the roster, even I wasn't sure if he was doing enough with that injury he had in training camp to make the roster. And then I remember he's a really good receiver and Joe Brady loves him. So there was zero chance he wasn't making the roster. I was like, well, he's hurt and I don't really know what he's done lately. But he is such a good running back out of the backfield that the Bills will always roster him. And he is super talented. Now, I've always had a little thing against James Cook. I think he puts the ball on the ground. He's been better this year about that. I think he's tentative behind the line of scrimmage. I don't think his vision's great. I think he has really good talent. But he does what it takes to be successful in this offense. He has a high-end athleticism. When he gets going, he is definitely a second quarter, third quarter guy. And his numbers would prove that. But for me, I don't know about Ray Davis. I don't know where he fits in this offense. They love James Cook, whether I do or not, doesn't matter. And they love Ty Johnson. They just have roles. Ray Davis is more of your typical running back that you may see on a different team. But I like his potential. I like his long-term ability. But unfortunately, Ray would need at least some type of non-play or injury to James Cook or at least Ty Johnson to get more snaps.
Yeah.
Right now, they're not going to make that. You're not going to see that Ray Davis game at this stage. But like everybody on the Bills roster, and even I have to mention Dorian Williams had the best game yesterday, apparently, according to PFF. I just tweeted it, which is another developing player underneath Sean McDermott. However, they rated Josh Allen fourth. I don't know how you can consciously watch that game. Great for Dorian Williams. He has some good run stops.
Yeah.
And say that he was a better player at his position than Josh Allen was, who was the best quarterback in the league right now and yesterday too. It doesn't make any sense. He's like an 80. I want to look at your grading scores because that's wild that you would say that, I love Jamarcus Ingram too. What a story. He had a better day than Josh Allen.
Well, Tyrell Dodson was the best linebacker in the NFL.
Sure.
Dude,
Marcus Ingram had a good blitz.
That right there calls for a full-scale investigation on PFF's grading system right there. When Dotson was the best linebacker in the NFL last year. I really don't get it. But it's
Dan, his DVOA numbers, his CPOE, his EPA, everything for Josh Allen is the best in the league. Like any analytic you want to pull, whatever one you like, you understand, whatever. He is Like, there's nothing in a grading scale that you would ever look at Josh Allen, and because they were up 50, like, and he got pulled in the fourth quarter, should he not be a whatever grade, that 99.9, whatever it is that they use? Wild.
It's my buddy Brandon or whatever. He's the Seahawks rep over at Roundtable Sports, and he hit me up. He was like, bro, we got Terrell Dawson. What do you got, man? He's the best linebacker in the NFL. Was he that good? I was like, bro, like Sean
McDermott's the best defensive coordinator in the NFL.
Okay.
Sean McDermott's the best defensive coordinator. That's what that is.
Yeah, most definitely, man. Austin's coming in. Shout out my boy Austin. What's happening, man? My man, you have to talk about Benford. That man is a dog. Spencer Brown, who allowed 0 total pressures last 2 games, got to talk about Dermott and his development. All right, so Kev, understand you walked in here a little bit late. That's okay. We're glad to have you. What were some of your biggest takeaways you saw from last night? So me and Thomas definitely ended up unpacking a lot of things that maybe haven't showed up on the box score, but like, who were like your like big winners of the night?
Oh, Dan, it's the thing we're not.
How much time we got?
Yeah, you guys are probably talking about it, I would assume. But the O-line, the Bills' O-line is absurd. It's really good. People ask me all offseason, like, are the Bills going to be just as good as they don't have any weapons? Looks like their safeties are gone. Whatever thing someone wanted to pull out of the blue. I said to people early in this offseason, the Bills' O-line is legit. Aaron Kromer is one of the best offensive line coaches in the league. They feel like they upgraded going to David Edwards at left guard and moving McGovern over. Now, even myself, I was like, we'll see. Their tackle play has been absurd. To his point, to Austin's point, 0 pressures in 3 games. It's 3 games technically. He hasn't allowed a single lost rep from his position. Spencer Brown has been. I thought he could have a fall off here after his good year last year because he got paid. He's been super good. Like, he's been one of the best tackles I've ever seen play so far. Will he keep that up? I hope so. But the tackle play has been ridiculous. Josh Allen isn't doing this if he's under pressure all game. He isn't, like, even against the Jags. The way the man coverage works, and this is what the Jags were thinking planning against Josh Allen, is that you have Josh Hines Allen, you have Walker, and you have a few other nice pieces to your defensive line that can disrupt man coverage. They didn't get that because the Bills' O-line was so talented, and it's been so good. Their guard play has been awesome. David Edwards has been really good at 2 years for $6 million. He's been great. Deion Dawkins has been worth everything at his left tackle position. McGovern has actually been a slight upgrade in some ways from Mitch Morse. Mitch has still got the experience and still pretty decent in pass protection. And they're bringing along Osiris Torrance. Nice. I mean, the Bills' O-line is great. I mean, that's just where I can't preach enough. They may have a bad game at some point. Everyone does. But right now that unit has been together forever. 6 out of the top 7 last year are still on this roster. 5 of them are starting. 5 of those 6 are starting now beside Morris. The continuity is absolutely a thing at O-line. I never really thought it mattered. But the last 2 years have proven to me like how good this O-line is. So that is the number one thing. And then, Christian Benford is an absolute beast. He's one of the best corners in the league. I don't care if his name's Benford or Sauce Gardner. He is a number 1 corner. He's top 5 in so many coverage metrics, so many separation metrics. He is ridiculous. He's everything you would want from a top 5 pick.
Oh, man. You have to love it. Is anything to add there, Thomas?
No, I mean, like Kev said, the offensive line is just doing things that nobody thought that they were going to. I mean, we all thought they had good pieces, but there was question marks. I mean, obviously, the big thing that everybody was like, oh, we're going to have the same 5 again for the second year. And then there was a big change. And that big change, again, let me say this in kind of, again, an overarching theme. We need to start trusting Brandon Beane. Like, I don't know why we do this every offseason. We're like, he doesn't know what he's talking about. And then he
Cody
does.
Ford, Thomas, because of Cody Ford.
Right. It's like all off season, we don't trust him. And then he jettisons Tre'Davious White. What happened? Trey sucks. What happened with Jordan Poyer? Jordan Poyer sucks. Like, Mitch Morse did not look great last night. Like, I'm sorry. Like, at a certain point, when do you start trusting the people who have put together this incredible franchise that we are lauding after every single year? So yes, the offensive line looks great. Christian Benford is just a madman. The guy, I said it last year, people sat there and said, oh, Kyer Elam should be playing over him. No, I'm sorry. If you look at the way that Sean McDermott runs, he runs on steady. Whoever's the guy that he can rely on, that gives him from the first snap to the last snap of the game consistency, that's what you get. And you get that with Christian Benford, but on top of that, you get top-end, elite-level play. And he is elevating his talent every single year. And, man, I'll tell you this much. Jamil Adai, their defensive backs coach that they brought in, deserves a ton of credit, too, because what he has done with this secondary group, with Demarcus Ingram, Cam Lewis, and, I mean, Rasul Douglas looks even better than last year. Ridiculous. Seriously.
It is absolutely insane. Folks, I need to remind all of you that this stream is powered by BetUS. Best sportsbook on the face of the planet, guys. They are matching 150% of your first deposit. As long as you end up going over to their website and utilize code YouTube150. And get this, they're matching 125% of your next two as well, folks. And I see King Lowski in the chat. Look at that, King Lowski. Where are we at? Minus 180 for the AFC East. I'll tell you what, those bookmakers over at BetUS are very intelligent because we already know that this team is on a damn stampede. And I can't wait for us to go out and hand out some ass whoopings for the next 3 weeks, capped off with a wonderful destruction of the New York Jets at MetLife. My God, I cannot wait. Shout out BetUS, guys. Go to their website, 150% deposit match, first deposit, and then the next two 125% after the fact.
Ooh, look at those numbers.
Dude, it's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. And I like having conversations with other Bills fans because sometimes I'm like, you know what? I might be being a homer for certain takes, but I feel like it's almost common knowledge at this point that I think Josh Allen is in the lead for the MVP, and I don't even think it's particularly close based off of everybody else that has been playing. Maybe you can put Saquon Barkley out there, maybe, but when was the last time a running back has won that award?
It's not going to happen. Yeah.
And then afterwards, I mean, maybe Sam Darnold, but I personally think that Josh is hands down the front runner for the MVP. He's been playing better football than anybody in the league right now. Am I crazy for saying that? I'm starting off with Kevin.
No. I mean, PFF says he's the fourth best quarterback so far in the first 3 weeks. I was just looking at, because while I was live on the show, they released their game score. Somehow they got all their grades. They knew all the film. They knew all the coverages in 12 hours.
So you can share that if you want to. I would actually be interested to see that.
Yeah, sure. Let me present it.
Yeah, go ahead. Let me see some PFF scores right here. Guys, smash that like button.
Yes, sir.
Way, guys,
while Kevin's pulling that up, I got to give something for, I don't know if TD is watching, but you can give this to him. Mr. Skylar Thompson, who was his savior after Tua went down, currently sits with a QB rating on the season of 4.9.
A 4.9. Hey, man.
Four. Not even double digits yet.
Don't disrespect the new Tom Brady, okay? In the 5th round. He was called him the second coming of Tom Brady once he came into it. It was honestly just illusion, and I'm looking forward to seeing how he hypes up Tyler Huntley next week during their next matchup. So that's one of the beautiful things. But, guys, I do want to remind everybody, do me a favor, go subscribe to Thomas's YouTube channel. He's so close to 100 subscribers right now. It is pinned at the top of the chat. And then also my boy Kevin, he's on Built in Buffalo, has his own show. His channel is also tagged in this description. Like I said, I love bringing these guys on right now, and they bring a lot of extra levels of my content that I cannot provide for you. So I bring them on so I can entertain my people. And we're so close to 26,000 subscribers right now. Out of 533 of you watching, 251 on YouTube, 281 on X. I know for a damn fact, at least 45 of you are not subscribed. So go on ahead, smash that subscribe button, turn on those bell notifications, and be a part of this milestone with us over at the Dan Mitchell YouTube channel. As Kevin brings up these PFF. Wow, okay, we have them all. We have them all, baby.
So, I don't know, Dan, do you want to go through how they are overrated after 3 weeks? You want to go through the game? Do you want to go through them compared to their peers?
I think we should go through all 3 weeks because I think this paints a pretty good picture of what we should expect with this gauntlet coming up.
Okay. So do you want to see the game by game, or then this is the total score from their first 3 weeks? Or do you want to see them each individual game?
Yeah, let's see each individual game. I think that'd be
okay. Better. Sure. You want to start with Jags, or you want to go the reverse order?
Yeah. Let's go in the reverse order because I just want to see this beat down in Jacksonville, and then we can transition over to the beat down in Miami. We just own Florida, baby. Look at that.
Yeah,
I love it.
For sure.
Go ahead.
So I'm going to pull up their individual scores per game as Dan's requested, so we can kind of see what they've done on a game-to-game basis. First, I guess the best place to give some depth to PFF, look, I don't use PFF often. I use it for some of their advanced stats. I'll show you some of those if we care. But this is the total score that have. So like I was mentioning earlier, they're saying after last night, Josh Allen is the 4th best quarterback in the league. We could pull the list if we care to see who they think is 1 through 3. But right now, I mean, they have an elite run score. I mean, I'm not sure where he's missing on passes, but a 74 for them is good, not great. So I'm not sure exactly what they're seeing there. And then you can kind of see the totality of the Bills' offense as a total score first. So you can kind of see like, you know, James Cook, they say he's the 6th best running back. Dalton Kincaid, they're saying he's the 2nd best tight end.
I love it.
Khalil Shakir, 13th best receiver in the league. Deion Dawkins having a good season himself. Keon Coleman's playing pretty well in his snaps so far. McGovern has been good football. Spencer Brown's fairly low for me. They're saying he's got an 81 pass block score, probably the best in the league, but somehow is the 44th tackle. That's wild. David Edwards, same kind of situation here. Matt Collins and MVS haven't done too much. Dawson Knox himself is you know, he's playing solid football, pass blocking pretty well right now. But then you look at Osiris Torrance, who has a 74 pass block score, which is elite, is good. And they're rating him the worst guard in the league. So I don't know how that amount
is the worst guard in the league.
According to PFF, yeah.
Okay, PFF, man.
67 out of 67, excuse me. Defensively, obviously, there's going to be some popping scores here. They got Benford. We just talked about him. 2nd best corner in the league. That checks.
He's number
very
1.
Nice to see that. We can look.
I'm curious.
Yeah, let's look. By position. You want to see who's the best corner in the league? Let's pull him up. According to PFF, Zion McCollum from Tampa, who's the number 1 corner in the league. Yep. Jamarcus Ingram's the 15th. How about that, guys? Jamarcus Ingram, 15th corner in the league.
Where does it have Sauce Gardner in there?
Yeah, where's Sauce at? It's a Halowski. Look at this. Where's Sauce Gardner at? Oh, man, we scrolling down right now, dude. Damn.
Oh, we got to go to change my rows to 100.
Oh, my God. We got to go to the 2nd page, Lowski. Where's Sauce?
There he is, 57th.
He's 57th, man. That bum. Look at that, man. You wish you had Christian Benford Sauce.
He can't play the run. According to PFF, I'm going to preface this. He's 74 runs plays. He can't play the run at all, according to PFF. He's struggling mightily against the run. His coverage isn't even that good. They have a 78 pass rush score with 0 pass rush reps. So that doesn't make nearly any sense. But yeah, 57th corner in the league from him right now out of that. I think worse than every single starting Bills corner.
Worse than
Douglas, 45th. Jamarcus Ingram, 15th. So they're going to definitely have everybody else as a safety. They won't update that Cam Lewis isn't a safety. Taylor Rapp's playing some good football. He is not a favorite of PFF. He's usually ranked pretty low on PFF. Last year, he did not have a good season. But now he's a safety 1, according to them.
Did you say what Rasul Douglas was, what he was ranked?
Yeah, 40. He's like in the 40s.
Okay.
He's in the 40s. Fuck, man.
Hamlin, they're saying, is playing some really good football. 36 safety. So they're basically saying is a high-end safety too, which is all we could have asked for from that. And they're saying that Rapp's a safety 1. They're basically saying that they're both very close to low-end safety 1s, high-end safety 2s, which I think most Bills fans would agree with that.
Man.
Out of their safety play. I don't see Cam Lewis on here, which is a joke. There he is, 63rd. Don't agree with that one. I think he's better.
Fucking A, man. I'll tell you what, I'm vibing right now. I'm vibing. But folks, I'll tell you what, it's gonna have to do it for the stream today. Like I said, I'm gonna be bringing these guys on for each and every single recap stream from now on. Because I just love the way the conversations flow. All right, guys. Like I said, make sure you subscribe to both of these guys' channels, linked in the description for me. And yeah, let's go around the table, say our goodbyes, let everybody know what we should expect from y'all's specific channels and things to look forward to, and send them on off. Starting off with Thomas. What you got, man?
Well, first off, appreciate you guys having me on again today. This has been a lot of fun. I'm glad we were able to spend some time talking about the travesty that the Jacksonville Jaguars are, and the future Super Bowl champion Buffalo Bills.
So talk about it. Come on, baby.
My show should be launched anytime now. It was supposed to be launched this week, but like I said, my daughter was born a couple days ago, so just
Congrats,
trying to
Thomas.
get through. Thank you. Trying to get through all that unscathed. But if you haven't seen it before, I was previously on Cover One. It's called Charge, a Buffalo football podcast. You can actually, it's Buffalo sports podcast because I also talk about the Buffalo Sabres. So if you like hockey, I'm your guy too. But we'll get more into that and kind of break that all down as things come. And you'll find me more on Bill's Roundtable and really all over the place. Find me on Twitter at the Thomas DeLoss. I love all the interaction, and we'll see you soon.
Hell yeah. What you got, Kevin?
You can find me on Autograph, right? Mondays on the SmackDown, where me and Dan represent the Bills against a lot of people. Some people who picked the Jags last night. That was a 40-point L. So that's always fun Monday nights to catch us over there. Also, whenever we roll a roundtable on Thursdays, those are super fun. And then always my show, Going Deep Buffalo, on the Built in Buffalo Podcast Network. Wednesdays at 8, we bring on great guests. We had Aaron Schatz on 2 weeks ago. We were breaking down some analytics. That was super fun. He is the only person that has actually casted a real ballot for Josh Allen as the MVP.
Thank you, Schatz.
He is on the voting crew for the MVP. And he tweeted last night that all these MVP takes, and I'm the only one that's actually ever submitted Josh Allen for MVP. I got clowned for it for some reason from the unanimous poll. But he is somebody that's going to lead the charge, no pun intended for Thomas, for Josh Allen as MVP. Did it last year. So it's cool to have him on the show. We'll bring in different guests, and we have the Locked On Ravens host on this week.
Nice. Absolutely. And then, guys, right before we send you off, Grayson Scott, great stream. Let's go Bills. Indeed, folks. Thank you so much for tuning in, guys. I'm live every single Monday through Friday at 11 a.m. EST. Subscribe, turn on bell notifications. And as always, I will see you later this afternoon for BetUS TV's The Huddle and maybe a pre-recorded video. See y'all soon. Deuces.